Mr. Speaker, various people have testified at the Phoenix Sinclair inquiry that the way the NDP runs the Child and Family Service system is deeply flawed. CBC has reported, and I quote, "Many spoke of harboring deep suspicions about, if not outright fear, of Child and Family Services." Mr. Speaker, CFS's record of rampant apprehensions has created this climate of fear of CFS. When families think of CFS, they should be thinking first about the help that CFS provides to keep their families together instead of the actions it might take to tear them apart. I asked the Minister of Family Services, what specifically is she doing for vulnerable families in Manitoba to end the climate of fear of CFS?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the member for the question. Certainly, throughout the Phoenix Sinclair inquiry, we have heard testimony, not only deeply troubling testimony, but also testimony of some of the things that are being done in the child welfare system. And certainly in the coming months, we'll see a report with some recommendations to further those changes. One of the opportunities I've had is to go and visit with agencies, with frontline workers on the ground and learn about some of those changes. Things like family enhancement programs, where workers are assigned to work with families who are in crisis, who are dealing with very significant issues, and help to keep that family together so those kids don't have to be apprehended. And I asked similar questions to the member, does this work if the family is suspicious of CFS? And the answer that they've given me is that it is working and they want to do more of that, and we've been funding that.
Mr. Speaker, I table information which shows that the rate of child apprehensions in Manitoba under the NDP is 10 times higher than in other countries. Reporter James Turner of the Winnipeg Sun, who follows the Phoenix Sinclair inquiry closely, writes that CFS is seen as, and I quote, "a gigantic government machine, the feared child police, which operates largely in secret and appears completely unaccountable for the decisions it makes." I ask the minister, what real change will she actually make to make sure that CFS is an organization that primarily focuses on supporting children and families instead of being hated and feared by so many vulnerable people?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And it was the former Minister of Family Services that brought into this House a law that was very clear that the mandate of Child and Family Services is to put the interests of children first. And unfortunately, too often in our province, that means that the best interest of a child is not with their family, where they're being hurt and abused and neglected. But it also does mean that we work with the community, with child welfare agencies and other organizations that we fund to put in supports to families, to help families get education, to help them make a better life, so that hopefully one day they can provide a loving home for their children. But the number one priority of the system is to keep children safe. And nobody likes it when a child has to be apprehended, but we do have to stand behind the child welfare workers that have to make that very difficult decision every day, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, as the minister has indicated, the CFS sees its primary role now as apprehensions, at 10 times the rate in other countries. But the primary focus should be helping children and families, as in many other areas of the world. The Minister of Family Services must make the changes to the CFS system so that apprehension is the last alternative after all other alternatives have been explored. Mr. Speaker, I ask the Minister of Family Services, will she admit that there is a climate of fear of the CFS department and that a loving, helping, individualized approach by CFS to every family needing help would be much better?
I want to be very clear, Mr. Speaker. What I said is that the Child and Family Services agencies, they put the safety of children first. That is their priority. Sometimes that means those children have to be apprehended. But those are the agencies that are also involved in working with young people who are in the care of the system to extend that care so that they can go to school, so that they can get a job, so they can live independently. These are the agencies that are working with foster families who not only work with foster children, but also reach out to the parents of those children to help to keep some of that relationship intact. These are the agencies that are doing innovative things like working with the entire family, even when sometimes they have to remove those children to deal with some of the issues that that family is facing. The child welfare system does incredible work on a daily basis.
Order, please. The minister's time has expired.